Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to pass things over to our guests here as soon as possible. But of course, I have to do a few housekeeping. Number one, we always have a lot of events coming up for AACT, and I want to make sure we plug a few of them. Tomorrow is our next webinar, actually. It's one of our virtual master classes on the 4 Ps for performing accents. It's a wonderful opportunity to learn more about dialect work. It's intended for actors and directors, as well as anyone who's just interested. It's going to be a great opportunity that will happen same time tomorrow. But with our virtual master classes, we do a weekend replay. So by registering, you get the opportunity to watch it again over the weekend. So if you're in the middle of work and you can't get to it, that's okay. You can still register and learn from it. Coming up at the end of the month on October 21st, we have a roundtable on preparing for and responding to natural disasters. And then in November, we will have There's a Place for Us, integrating new members to your community theater. So lots of events coming up. You can learn more at aact.org/webinars. But today we have Theatrical Rights Worldwide, and we're so excited to learn more about what is coming up with them. If you see at the bottom of your Zoom, you'll see both a chat feature and a Q&A. Want to make sure that you know the difference between the two. Any question you have, please make sure you add it to the Q&A. That makes sure that we see it and we get the answers as soon as possible. If you have anything else to add, feel free to add it to the chat, but we want to make sure that the questions are in the Q&A so that we get you the answers in a timely fashion. Thank you again for joining, and I will pass things over to our wonderful team from Theatrical Rights Worldwide.
Hello, welcome. We're Theatrical Rights Worldwide. I'm Craig Pospisil.
I'm Catherine Daigle.
We thought we'd give you a little bit of an intro to TRW in case you haven't dealt with us a lot, and then talk about some of the new musicals and some of the new plays that we have, and give you a chance to ask us any questions you have about licensing our shows with us. So TRW next year, 2026, will be our 20th anniversary. The company was started and founded by Steve Spiegel, who used to run MTI for a long, long time, and has been growing ever since. We have, we have Spam-A-Lot, we have Addams Family, we have all Shook Up, a lot of musicals like that. And this year is our 5th anniversary of starting a plays division, which we started during the pandemic. So we have our new supplement, which just came out, and some of the things we'll be talking about there.
Yeah, I'll get us started. We'll talk about musicals first, and then I'll pass things a little bit back to Craig. But before I share my screen and show some fun logos and graphics, to talk a little bit about what makes TRW special and licensing with us. We try to make the experience as personalized as possible. We understand that licensing can be kind of bureaucratic and confusing, and our goal is to make it as simple and straightforward as possible for you. You're in direct contact with the licensed representative that you've been assigned from the start, and if you ever have any questions, you're always welcome to reach out to them. We always respond. Typically, emails are within a day. We answer calls 9 to 6, Monday through Friday, and we just want to talk to you. We are here to help. The best way that we can serve our authors is by serving our customers really well too. So that's special. The important thing worth noting about musical materials is that they are non-returnable. They are yours to keep. They are yours to destroy. They are yours to highlight to your heart's content. You can keep them as mementos. I know it can be kind of a pain to have to go through it and erase all the pencil markings that you've made, and you don't have to do that with us. If you choose to do the same show again a couple years later, you would be repurchasing the materials, but that means that the performers can keep them on hand and have them as a memento. I know as a kid, that was always really important for me when I was working on junior editions. So the same thing applies for all of us.
If there are any changes to the music or the script or things like that, they'll automatically be updated for new materials there.
Yes, exactly. So I'll share my screen, see if I can do this properly. Okay. If it doesn't work, let me know, but I think it will.
You are up and running.
Fantastic, thank you. Just our logo to start, but the first thing I want to talk about is some of our new releases and new acquisitions in the musicals department. Yay, exciting. Some of these are publicly announced, some of them are not, so you're getting a sneak peek. First up, I want to talk about Swept Away. This was on Broadway this past season and features music entirely by the Avett Brothers. So if you're familiar with them, I highly recommend listening to their albums and recommending to this album. It's a fantastic score. It's an 1888 shipwreck, and it's quite harrowing and dark, but the music is stunning and it's a really excellent piece. It is available now. You are welcome to go ahead and apply for it. You can get perusals for it. There's no holdbacks. So that's our newest, bigger release. Romy and Michelle, we've had the rights for a long time, but finally we're getting a major off-Broadway production that opens, I think next week.
Any day
I think
now.
it's the 14th. I think it opens next week. And we're very excited. It's starring Laura Belbundi and Cara Lindsay off Broadway. So if you're coming to New York in the next couple months, I highly recommend seeing that.
Should be fun.
We're expecting the licensing to be available shortly after that production. The authors are working hard on creating a definitive version. So hopefully that would be ready in the spring or summer. Pirates, the Penzance musical, was also on Broadway this past year. It is an adaptation of Gilbert and Sullivan's Pirates of Penzance, but rather than set in England, it is set in New Orleans. It was entirely reorchestrated and it's an incredible reorchestration. I highly recommend listening to it. And it kind of modernizes it a little bit. It's the story everyone knows and loves, but puts a little bit more of a modern lens on it. Boop also was this past season. It was personally one of my favorites. It was really popular for, in particular, the choreography, the costumes, and Jasmine Amy Rogers. Whoa, talking too quick. Jasmine Amy Rogers, her performance as Betty Boop, she was astounding.
Yeah.
What I want to say about Boop in particular is that I've heard concerns that maybe it is not family appropriate, and in fact it extraordinarily is. She was a real character of empowerment, and the show itself is so joyful and so family friendly in a way that surprised me, but that really works. It's heartening and it's joyful, and I recommend watching videos of it online if you can find. Next up is, I just want to highlight two titles in particular that I think are really fantastic for community theaters. Both of these are written by the same writing team. It's Chad Bigelen, it's Matthew Sklar, it's Bob Martin. And you'll probably know The Prom from the Netflix movie. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. But it's set in a high school, and there's a student named Emma who is not being permitted to bring her girlfriend to the prom. So there are these four washed up Broadway actors who swoop in and try to help Emma for slightly selfish reasons, and chaos ensues. But it's a really fun score, and it's a really fun show. It's very heartwarming, and it's in a very traditional musical theater structure. So it's a great way to get very positive message across in a palatable way. And then Halftime was written by the same team, and it's about a group of senior citizens who audition to be the halftime group for a big basketball team. And then they learn after auditioning that all of the dancing is going to be hip hop. So they're having to learn an entirely new kind of dance.
True life story.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah.
This actually happened.
So did the prom one.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
I mean, these writers pull from real life, and they're almost, they're hard to believe that they're true, but they are. And they're so fun. So I think both of these shows are great examples of something where you can involve the entire community. There are younger roles, there are older roles, and meaty roles for all ages. And they're really a way to fight stigmas too. When you talk about Halftime, in particular, the characters are fighting the stigma against what they can and can't do with their age. And with The Prom, it's about sexuality. So I highly recommend taking a look at both these shows. They're great picks for community theater. And one more thing I'll plug is that Theater 3 out in New York just did Halftime this past May, and they created a whole big documentary about the process and documented a lot of their shows. So if you have interest in seeing that, you're welcome to reach out to us. Wrong keyboard. This is a quick plug for jukeboxes before I pass it along to Craig. One of our most popular shows is Jersey Boys, and I'm sure some of you in the chat have unfortunately dealt with the experience of being denied to do Jersey Boys. So you want to use this as an opportunity to ensure you that if we have the ability to approve it, we will. There are a lot of restrictions sometimes placed on us that prevent that, but our job is to help you pick what's going to be perfect for your season. And if you're ever in a position where something doesn't get approved, please reach out to us and talk it through with us. Sometimes we can provide a little more reasoning, sometimes we can't, but we're going to do our best to make sure that you still have a successful season. The Addams Family has been restricted for community theaters, but it won't be anymore. So if you're interested in that for 2026 or 2027, you're welcome to reach out. And I won't talk too much about these shows, but I highly recommend them all if you're looking for jukeboxes and for something that's automatically going to be a crowd pleaser. You don't have to worry about the box office. You know people will come to see these. On Your Feet, Gloria Emilio Estefan. All Shook Up is all Elvis's music. $1 Million Quartet, $1 Million Quartet Christmas is a fun version too that just came out a couple years ago. I will pass it back to Craig.
All right, thank you. I'll just take a moment first and reiterate, how much we want to work with you on getting you the show that you want. We don't make any money if we say no to you. The author of that show may not be making that money, so I do everything I can not to say no and to try and work it out. I always kind of feel that I work for the theater as much as I work for the author. So just know that when you're dealing with us. So I went through our catalog, which we now have. When I got here 4 years ago, we had about 30 plays, 40 plays, and mostly one acts and stuff. And now we have over 350. So we've really been growing a lot and trying to get a wide swath of material of interest to all kinds of groups. So I went through the catalog and I picked out about 8 shows that I thought in particular would be good for community theater markets, both in subject matter, in casting ability, in rehearsal ability in some cases. And the first one I'll highlight is Coast Starlight by Keith Bunin, who's a terrific, lovely writer. And this is story of an army, a guy in the army who he's about to be sent back to Afghanistan. He'd already done a couple of tours and he's just so scared. He's sure that if he does another tour, he won't be coming home. So he goes AWOL and he's in San Diego and he gets on the train, the Coast Starlight, the actual train, and is headed up towards Seattle. And he's just doesn't know where he's going to go. And the story is about all the people that are on the train with him, each with their own stories, maybe not quite as life or death as his might be, but what's beautiful about it is that the characters in reality don't really talk or interact with each other that much. The whole thing is kind of told in imagination. They have little interactions, but then one of them will say, oh, I was looking across the aisle. I saw you were drawing this thing. I thought your drawing was perfect. And if I had spoken to you, I would have said this. And then they imagine what that conversation might have been. So at the end of the whole trip, it's so bittersweet that these characters haven't had these conversations because they've been open in a way that they probably wouldn't have if they'd, actually spoken to one another. So it's just a beautiful journey, both for the soldier who's going AWOL and some of these other characters. There's also a hilarious monologue of this woman who gets on the train. She's pissed off about, a boyfriend that she's left at some, retreat. And she's just like loud and talking and everybody on the train hears it. So it's very fun. The next play is What Springs Forth by Carrie Krim. You may know her play Morning After Grace, which is a great show that a lot of groups have done. This is a 4-character play, 4 women. 3 of them are headed off to what they think is a upscale spa in the woods somewhere in like Upper Michigan. But what it turns out en route, two of them are driving up and the trees are denser and denser and denser. And then they discover that their third has changed the plans on them without telling them. And they're actually kind of roughing it and camping in the woods with a bear. And the fourth woman is probably a con artist of some kind. So it's very funny. And it's a great piece for the four women. Then we've got Pen Pals, which is an epistolary play, which is running here in New York right now. You know, obviously Love Letters comes to mind. This is a story of a friendship between two women over the course of 60 years, one of whom is living in the US, the other is living in England. And it's their correspondence from the time they're like 14 into their 70s. And it's just lovely. You know, obviously you can see from the picture there, it can be just read a la Love Letters again. Just a really a jewel of a play. The next is Bruce Graham's The Flatlanders, which has a couple stranded in the woods again. I guess I'm on a theme. These people, they're in the Poconos in Pennsylvania, and their car breaks down and they have to break into somebody's house to try and survive the cold. But, you know, the house doesn't even have enough heat in it. They're going through the secrets and the drawers of the people who ever own this house, and also exposing their own secrets along their way. It's a really funny piece by Bruce Graham. Next, Mr. Dickens' Hat is by Michael Hollinger, is a great kind of alternative Christmas show. It's set in December in Victorian England. Dickens isn't a character, but his hat is there. It's written in a kind of Victorian Dickensian style. So you get a lot of the flavor that you might get from like a Christmas Carol without doing a Christmas Carol for the umpteenth time. He's written music that goes along with it. The main character is sort of this Oliver Twist sort of kid. And it's just a lovely piece. It allows you to like bring in a lot of actors without a huge time commitment on the rehearsal side. I highly recommend you look at that one. The next is a brand new piece that we picked up this past spring called Jane Austen in 89 Minutes by Siri James, which was done theater in Los Angeles area. Theater 40 did it, and I know the artistic director, and he sometimes sends me scripts that he thinks will work well. And instantly, I love this one. It's basically like, you know, complete works of William Shakespeare, abridged sort of thing. It's Jane Austen is the narrator, and she comes out, and they go through all 6 of her novels in this very condensed fashion, a lot of multiple parts and switching up things. It's a lovely kind of homage to Jane Austen, but also throwing in some contemporary jokes, and especially about how popular her work has been in the last years. And then rounding this out, I wanted to bring your attention to a play called Rooted by Deborah Zoe Laufer. 3 characters, 3 women, 2 sisters in their 60s or so, one of whom is a very disgruntled waitress. They live in a small town which they basically have never left. Her sister lives in a treehouse, a large treehouse that she lives there, where she conducts experiments, we'll call them, on plants. She's sure that plants have feelings and memory, and she's doing these little experiments mostly for herself, but she's YouTubing them, much like we are now. And what she doesn't know is she's kind of become this viral sensation. And the third woman who comes is part of a huge group, kind of like a cult, that's surrounded this woman, and they all are massing in the fields underneath this treehouse. And so, you know, it really forces these women to kind of confront their issues. And the older sister is trying to think of how she can monetize this crowd that showed up. And it's a delightful and unexpected piece. And the last one, Birds of North America by Anna Oyang Monk, is a lovely, lovely two-character father-daughter story. Takes place in Maryland over the course of a decade. And we just see the father is an avid birder. His daughter, his adult daughter, also likes it and uses it as a time when she can come and connect with her dad. And it's just a lovely, we see them aging. We see how their relationship deepens, the times they both kind of pull back from one another. We see them go through the crisis, the wife, the mother dies, and how they get through it all and through a lot of big life events. And I love Anna's writing. We've got several plays of hers. She writes for Severance on Apple TV now. So it's a terrific play, two-character thing, and a lot of groups are starting to do it. That's all for the play side of things.
I believe, oh my gosh,
yes.
I forgot about this. I can't believe I did. This is important. So a couple of years ago, we also began a production wing for TRW. And what this means is we are starting from the ground up in helping produce and write musicals to then go out for licensing. So the two you see on your left, Wild Heart and The Olympians, both are currently available. They are fantastic. I'm a really big fan. Wild Heart uses the music of Pink and Melissa Etheridge to tell the story of Joan of Arc. And The Olympians is an original story about the goddesses on Mount Olympus saying, hey, why aren't there more female heroes?
Yeah.
And putting some humans to task to see if we could get a new female hero.
Yeah.
And
also a jukebox.
Yes, also jukebox. There's some Blondie in there. There's some Miley Cyrus in there. There's Kelly Clarkson. All very, very fun. And then on the right, we have two that we are currently working on. Joyful Noise, we're working with Dolly Parton. It was the I think 2012 film with Dolly and Queen Latifah and Keke Palmer. That should premiere sometime next year. And then music and lyrics, we're working with the band Lawrence, who happens to be one of my favorite bands. So if you haven't listened to them, they're great. Music and lyrics is a 2007 film with Hugh Grant and Drew Barrymore. And that'll be a really special treat too. So if you send us an email at licensing@theatricalrights.com, you can be added to the priority list for any of these shows that we're developing, but also the new releases that I had mentioned previously. Yeah. Swept Away, Wild Heart, Olympians, all already available, but Pirates, Boop, Romy and Michelle, Joyful Noise, music and lyrics, feel free to email me and I'll make sure that I personally reach out to you if there are any updates.
Yeah, the perusals for Wild Heart and the Olympians are available now too. So if it sounds interesting, email and we can get you a script and go from there.
This is our direct emails as well. You're welcome to just take a quick picture, screenshot of that before you proceed to the Q&A. But we are always happy to chat and to email, give us a call. That's my favorite part of the job, is just getting to talk to people like you and make sure that you have everything that you need to have a successful season.
So make Catherine stay and call her.
Please, please. I will stop the share now so that we're a little more visible.
Do the Q&A.
Yeah. Would you guys prefer if we pull up the questions and ask them ourselves? I think we will just go ahead and do that.
So whichever you'd like for us to go with.
Stunning. Okay. First question, casting restrictions for Boop. We are in the process of working that out. My understanding is that there will not be. But it's important, obviously, to honor the author's original intent. So we will be having those conversations with them and making sure that we write within the cast list anything that's required. That's a good thing to note across the board, is if you open up one of our perusals and you see a cast list and it doesn't specify race or gender, that means you can shift and change it. As a general rule of thumb, if you have a male character that you want to change to a female character, sometimes that's possible, but always you can have you can have it be a pants role where you're having a female performer performing it as male.
The other thing that I will say also, and again, this goes back to like, we don't like to say no, is if you have a question about anything, you know, changing a gender or changing a line or something, ask us. Just ask, and we will try and find out the answer. We will, you know, stump for it if we can. You know, we're definitely here to work with you and to try and make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, we're in very frequent direct contact with the authors. So a lot of times if we don't already have an answer, we'll get an answer from the author directly. And then that way it's good for us to know too what the answer would be. If the author doesn't make money and you don't make money, who is getting our money?
No. Only when we say no.
Only when we say no.
When we say yes, we make some money.
Yes. Craig, we regularly develop new works. When/if we have a piece that is strong, we work with the playwright to get the piece out currently through New Play Exchange. Does TRW have a submission portal?
That's a case where we don't have a submission portal, but email me. Let me know the circumstances. If you've got some good reviews, you know, if the author has an agent, anything like that, put them in touch. You know, I'm sure I'll be happy to read it and see if it's something that we think, you know, appeals to our markets and that we can work with. Yeah. So sure.
Will Jersey Boys become available again? Yes, it is going back out on tour. So a lot of the current applications are going through a clearance process like normal, but I can assure you that if you have applied in the past or if you're in direct contact with me, I will be directly emailing people the second that it is available. I try to keep up the communication as closely as possible. So if you're in a boat where you want it for a particular time, let me know. I'm going to try. And otherwise, I'm always happy to chat through alternative options and then plan ahead for Jersey Boys for a different season. Let's see. It is difficult to find shows that work for our community theater because we have ages 6 to 90 in our shows, typically with 50 to 60 in the cast. Any suggestions for musicals? That's a huge cast.
That's
admirable.
huge.
Very admirable. That's awesome. Well, I do think Prom and Halftime are both shows that fit into that category. They have expandable casts, expandable ensembles, and really truly involve characters of all of those ages rather than just saying, oh, all the characters are in their 30s, but the ensemble can have older and younger members. Like the characters themselves are of all ages. That's a good one. It depends a little bit on where you want your audiences to fall. If you like really family friendly, Wind in the Willows is a really good option. I think All Shook Up is great as well. Similar with Halftime and Prom, there are characters of every age within that. I can think of a whole bunch more. If you send me an email, I'm happy to send over some free perusals as well. I have a whole long cheat sheet that I can refer to and make sure that I'm not forgetting anything, but those are the ones that come to mind first, which is why I wanted to feature them today. Are you keeping the percentage option for royalties or going to flat fees only?
Well, with the plays on the non-professional or amateur side, it tends to be a flat fee, a per performance fee percentage for professional companies. But
yeah, it's different for every group. On the amateur side and on the professional side, as far as I know, it's almost exclusively percentage for us. If we feel that a community theater is really giant for whatever reason, we will say, hey, just give us our box office report after, just so that we can verify the numbers on our end and have a paper trail for our authors. But as far as I know, percentage is what we're sticking with. What we do have is a flat minimum fee. So if you have 20 people in your audience and the tickets are $5, you will still pay a certain minimum, even if the revenue is low. But that's, yeah, that should answer that. Can you make a prediction for the future? Shows that you are watching. honestly, the production side of things are the greatest predictions. There are a lot of things that the production team is working on that we're not able to speak about yet, but I wish we could, because
Yeah.
oh my gosh, some of the meetings that we
Yeah,
have,
some
I get so
some
jazzed about.
exciting things.
Um,
I mean, a lot of the, in terms of predictions, we're seeing the same kind of things that you could probably, Google and find yourselves. We're looking at shows that are happening here in New York, both plays and musicals. We're looking at what the regional theaters are doing.
West End.
And West End. I just got back from a trip to London, saw 5 shows in 5 days. And so, we're always looking for new material that we think we have a great market for, and in all of the markets that we work with. So predictions, if there's something that you've got your eye on, let us know. I'm sure we're looking at it too and trying to bring it in if we can.
And we're always going to welcome your feedback as well. If there are predictions or things that you are looking for that you're not finding in the market, let us know. We want to do that. We're in the process of creating adaptive editions for some of our shows, because we've gotten a lot of feedback that there are accessibility-based groups out there. So that's in the works. Our goal, kind of to loop back to what I was originally saying, is TRW is always here to listen, and our job is to make sure that you have what you need. So if there is something that you're not seeing that you're wanting, let us know. We'll figure it out and put something together. Oh, we got another one.
Oh, good.
David, you're really, I love it. What is your perspective on the status of Broadway? I love to hear professionals' opinions. Probably related to the New York Times article, huh?
It's interesting seeing, like, having just come back from London, the differences between, say, Broadway and the West End. I mean, Broadway has really become, I think, it's mostly a home for musicals these days.
Unless there's a celebrity in it.
Yes, well,
then it's the home for plays.
Then there's obviously a lot of casting of stars for plays.
Yeah.
But what used to be kind of the new play on Broadway is now like almost exclusively off Broadway. I think, unless it's got the star.
Yeah, it's about diversifying where we're seeing
Yeah.
theater. I think Broadway will always be a pinnacle in the way that West End is, but we always make sure we're seeing community theater and school theater, and that is just as much theater as Broadway is. So the trends that are happening in the community theaters matter to us as well, and that impacts what Broadway ends up doing.
It's more of an endpoint as opposed to a real generator at this point of new material. Almost nothing gets to Broadway that hasn't had regional productions and workshops like crazy. So we obviously look beyond that for new material ourselves.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both so much. And thank you everyone who attended. We always love hearing what's coming up and what's new and popular and what you recommend. Your recommendations are always invaluable. So thank you so much for sharing. Like I said, we always have something going on with AACT. So I encourage everyone to check AACT.org for all the latest updates and events. But if you ever need anything from us, reach out. Don't hesitate. I know that goes the same for TRW. Reach out. They are happy to hear from you, and they are always quick to respond. You guys have great customer service, and we love that about you. So thank you all. We'll see you at another ACT event soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dancing in and dancing on the way out. I love that. I absolutely love that. Thank you guys so much for your time and your energy and your brain power. For everybody else in the room, thank you for attending, and we will see you very, very soon. Yes, I was like to say, am I going to get to see you dance a little bit more? That's it. All right, friends, we will see you very, very, very soon. Bye now.